So obviously there are several places, I mean hundreds of locations in Jerusalem that are really interesting to me as a Bible reader and as an Israel lover. We're going to talk about one of those today that is actually quite interesting in this year in particular because it may be open to the public for the first time in 2,000 years. And that is the Pool of Siloam. Now, you may recognize this as a place where Jesus did specific miracles, or you may have heard about it from specific people in Israel or whatever. But let's check it out today and talk about the reality of what this place is and where it comes from in Scripture, at least one of the locations, and dive into it right here. But first, our favorite thing, Google Maps. Here we go. So here's the world as always, and we're gonna dive straight into the in-between of Africa over here. And of course, going northeast, we head to Israel, this location here. We've got the Sea of Galilee on the north, the Dead Sea to the south, and Jerusalem right to the west of the Dead Sea. So if we zoom into Jerusalem, we actually get to a location known as the City of David. So this is basically the origins of where Jerusalem came from. When David conquered the original city of Jerusalem before the Israelites had control of it, he took this over and he created a very small city named the City of David. There's a lot of really amazing things here, but one of the things that's right at the bottom of the City of David is the Pool of Siloam. And it's very small, very insignificant, and the reason for that is because, well, you can't really go there today. You can go there, but it's not excavated. It's not like an open thing to the public as a tourist place where you go. Most people don't really go there on their tours. They may pass through it when they're going to Hezekiah's tunnel or something like that, but it's not a normal place where people go all the time. So I figured it would be cool if we do a new thing on Google Maps called Street View. So here is Israel. If you've never seen Israel before, this is what it looks like. One of the cool things that I want to talk about in this view is how everything is built out of the same material. Now, whenever Israel became a nation and they started to rebuild everything, there was a mandate put in place that you could only build buildings out of Jerusalem stone. It's a type of limestone, okay? So this is really interesting because you can see all of the buildings are the same color. It's all made of the same rock. And why would they do this? They do this because they want to make sure that all of the buildings are holding their historical heritage, so that all of the rock that is used in the making of these buildings is from Jerusalem. It is Jerusalem limestone, right? It's really authentic. They don't want like wooden buildings and all these different types of buildings to be made here. They want it to be as authentic as possible, and they want it to stay that way. So there's a mandate. That's why all the buildings look exactly the same. If you're liking this video so far and you want to continue to see us making videos like this, then we could really use your help on patreon.com. This is the best way to help support us with $5, $10, $25, or even $50 a month if you really, really want to. But honestly, this is what keeps us going, because sometimes YouTube, well, just doesn't show our videos to people, or it kind of is blocked in the algorithm for whatever reason. So we could really use your help if you want to support us right here on the Snipe Life. So if we go down this street here, you can see all these different cars and all these different buildings. I'll turn this way so you can see some of the area over here. Now, this isn't the nicest area of Israel I've ever seen, but this is the reality of some of the locations of more just like we have good and bad places where we bring tourists or we don't. Israel is the exact same way. So if we go over here down the street, we can actually see over here, this is the Pool of Siloam. And you can actually see a tour group right now heading out of Hezekiah's tunnel and through the Pool of Siloam up into the street to get back on their van here. And so this is the Pool of Siloam. If you can see, there's steps on the bottom here, right where these people are. And then there's a flat portion on the bottom. Now, this obviously has not been excavated. They actually announced recently, earlier this year, that they were going to start excavating it and opening this section to the public. So let's look at some better pictures than our Google Street View. And here is what it looks like from those stairs that I was showing you before. So if we go back, the stairs that are right here are these stairs right here. And this is pretty early on when they first found this location. They started excavating. Over here is the exit to the Hezekiah's tunnel, where you can walk through, and it's like a tunnel that you can go through, and there's water in it. It's where they originally used water to flow into certain locations. And so you can see the steps right here. Here's a little bit of a future picture. Let me zoom in on this one so you can see it a little bit better. So you can see they've excavated a little bit more, and they have this awning here that they used. So you can see the difference between those two. So that awning, you can kind of sit down, do a teaching there, and people can visit if they want. But now, actually, the Pool of Siloam is about to be opened to the public, probably not very soon. I don't think it's open yet, but they are doing excavations, and they're starting on a new project to continue to excavate everything and make it so that it looks like it did a long, long time ago. So I felt like this was a really interesting thing that we could actually look at. And here's another section of it here. This is one of the most recent pictures. And so you can see how far down they've dug, down all the way to this flat portion here. So these stairs are the same stairs that Jesus would have walked in, the same stairs that millions and millions and millions of Israelites used to cleanse themselves and to go in here. Very, very, very cool. I also wanted to add in here a piece of Sergio and Rhoda's video about the Pool of Siloam that they recently did. They were just over in that area, and there's some really cool new discovery. So let's check this out.
So guys, Pool of Siloam used to be this small little section of it, just a few feet. That's all you could see. And like a year ago too, they got permission to start excavating it, all of it. And I can't believe this. So the explanation behind this place is, if anybody going to the Temple Mount, which is right there where we just came from, if anybody's going there and you're Jew in the second temple period, any Jew going up there had to purify themselves ritually. Like it says in the book of Acts, everybody came from different countries. So it says that they would come and they would have to purify themselves. So this was a giant pool, enough to accommodate this huge pilgrimage, the numbers of people who would come, purify themselves here, and then walk these steps. See these big steps? So there's supposed to be steps somewhere there going all the way up to the temple. Oh, wow. And when it says that Paul stood at the steps, the preach, when it says Jesus was at the steps, so this would be it. This is from the time of Jesus. So it's under the houses, because you know how everything kind of built up on top, but they found those steps going all the way up, and they are excavating and clearing them and building safety rails so no houses will collapse on you while you walk them. So tourists will be able to do the same route that Jesus would have done 1,000 years ago up to the Temple Mount. They're doing it. I don't know when they're going to open it, but the fact that they allow them to excavate this is insane.
So would this whole area have been the pool then?
I don't know. They're going to find out. They're going to find out.
So here is a basically an animation that they did that shows you what it would have looked like. So you can see those steps kind of coming down, and then there's a large flat portion in the middle that creates this gigantic pool where people could sit. There's a promenade over on this side, and then a wall over here, possibly to the city. I'm not sure. Probably to the city of David there. So, and there's a walkway over here. I'm not sure how much of this is archaeologically 100% accurate, but the pool definitely is here, having the steps on the sides and the big pool in the middle. It kind of reminds me of the Washington Monument in a lot of ways. So I thought that was really, really interesting. Let's go ahead and check out the biblical location where this actually takes place. I'm going to look at the one from John chapter 9, where Jesus heals a man born blind. This is actually really interesting too, because we're going to see this scene in the upcoming Chosen season, where we see this played out in a new way, which is going to be really, really interesting to see. So let's dive into this. John chapter 9. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man who had been blind from birth. Rabbi, his disciples asked him, why was this man born blind? Was it because of his own sin or because of the sin of his parents? It was not because of his sins or his parents' sins, Jesus answered. This happened so that the power of God could be seen in him. We must quickly carry out all the tasks assigned to us by the one who sent us. The night is coming, and then no one can work. But while I am here in the world, I am the light of the world. Then he spit on the ground and made mud with the saliva and spread the mud over the blind man's eyes. He told him, go, wash yourself in the pool of Siloam. Siloam means sent. So the man went and washed and came back seeing. His neighbors and others who knew him as a blind beggar asked each other, isn't this the man who used to sit and beg? Some said he was, and others said, no, he just looks like him. But the beggar kept saying, yes, I am the same one. He told them, the man they called Jesus made mud and spread it over my eyes and told me to go to the pool of Siloam and wash yourself. So I went and washed, and now I can see. Where is he now? They asked. I don't know, he replied. Then they took the man who had been blind to the Pharisees because it was on the Sabbath that Jesus had made the mud and healed him. So we won't read through the whole part of this story, but it's really interesting. Jesus finds this blind man He heals him. He tells him, he puts the mud on his eyes. He tells him, go to the Pool of Siloam and to wash there. And when he's washing his eyes, then the blind man is healed. And he goes back and starts to tell everybody. And some of them are so confused, they don't even think it's him. And then later on, we actually see that the Pharisees start blaming him and his parents. And they're like, well, if he didn't sin, then definitely your parents sinned. And there's a huge issue here, right? But the interesting thing about this passage is what Jesus says here. He says, no, it's not your parents' sins or your sins that caused this to happen. This happened. The only reason this happened is so that the power of God could be seen in this moment, in you, right now, in what I'm doing. We must quickly carry out the tasks assigned us by the one who sent us. The night is coming, and then no one can work. But while I am here in the world, I am the light of the world. So this is a super interesting passage where Jesus is saying, he's giving us clarity on sicknesses and illnesses and deficiencies. This is not because you were a bad person or because your parents were a bad person. He didn't lose his sight because he sinned and he did something. He was blind from birth, and his parents didn't do anything either. Well, of course they sinned, but it's not because of their sin that this happened. And so Jesus is giving us clarity on something that I think we all struggle with, which is, why do bad things happen to good people? Why is there pain and suffering in the world? Well, the answer for at least a piece of it, the answer for at least some of it, is to give God the glory. So the reason that you may be feeling pain, that you may be struggling, that you may be going through something right now, is to give God the glory. I just find that really interesting, because it's a really bitter meal that we're being served when Jesus says that. Because it's like, really, there's like no other reason? Like, nobody caused this to happen? I just have this deficiency. I just have this problem because just to glorify you? But the answer is yes. Why do we have anything? Why do we have the air that we breathe? Why do we have the car in our driveway? Why do we have the friends and the family that we have? Why do we have the jobs that we have? God used them for specific reasons, right? And in this moment, in the darkest of moments for this person, when he's like, yeah, I don't know why I'm like this, Jesus' answer is to glorify God. And I think we could learn a lot from that, right? Even in our good moments, we question why it is that we're going through what we're going through, or why it is that we have what we have, or why it is that we're struggling. And all of it is to glorify God. All of it is for him. I don't know. It's just so cool. I really want to add this site to future trips. Once we go there, once it's open to the public, it'll be really, really cool. I'm sure it'll become a little bit more touristy, but it'll be really cool to see some of those archaeological moments in that pool, and just imagine the millions of people that would have come and gone through this pool to cleanse themselves. And man, it would be really, really cool.